Hello and welcome back to my channel, the best place to be if you want to find out exactly how your thoughts and your emotions are affecting your health. And not just your health, but your whole life. Because truthfully, what you believe affects what you think, and what you think affects how you feel, and how you feel causes you to act and react in life. And so if you've never stopped to kind of put it all together, or you've thought about it, but then you thought, I don't really understand why this is happening, then this is what this whole channel is all about, is helping you to be able to really reflect and look at, what do my symptoms mean? What does this outer incident mean? And so last week I was talking about accidents and injuries, and basically, I was talking about how when you're in a really low negative state, if you're feeling angry or upset or just miserable or just not happy in any way, you put that energy out there and that energy comes back to you. And so you attract that kind of energy. So angry people attract angry people, or they attract bad situations as a way to get your attention. If you want to learn more about that, go back and watch the other video. I'll actually post a link to it in the end, right somewhere about here. But this week, I wanted to go a little bit further because I had a couple comments and people were asking, they're like, well, something happened to me, but I don't think I was angry. Well, we're going to talk about that. So stick around for this video and we're going to go a little bit further into other reasons why accidents and injuries might have happened to you. Because sometimes it's not that you're angry outwardly or consciously, but you might be angry inwardly, and you might not even be aware of it. In the healing system that I utilize, we often see a lot of women, there's men too, but that we call the sweet angry people. So have you ever met somebody in your life where you've walked up to them and you're like, hey, how are you doing today? And they're like, oh, I'm fine. You're like, you don't really sound very fine. But they pretend on the surface that they're all good, and maybe even on some level they're in denial about the fact that they actually feel shitty and shitty things are happening, or they're angry or frustrated with life, but they don't want to be that person. So they're trying to pretend that they're okay, to the point where they're in denial completely about all this anger that they got going on inside. So these are the people that often become the victim in life. They're the ones who are, the ones that get picked on, the ones that bad things just happen to, and they don't know why. If that's you, then maybe you need to be looking at the fact that you're hanging on to some anger and frustration. And I have other videos where I've talked about the hidden, messages of anger and frustration and shame and resentment and all of that. Go back and watch those videos. Again, I'll post a link at the end. But if you are somebody who's just feeling like a victim in life, you can attract accidents as well. Or maybe you're somebody that just believes that, well, sometimes shit just happens. And maybe it does. Or maybe it doesn't. Have you ever wondered why just random weird shit happens to people? Or happens to you? And you're like, just comes out of nowhere. I've had those situations, and I'm going to share a story in a little bit. But later on in the video, I'll explain, exactly why those random events happen and whether or not they really are just random events. So stick around. And last but not least, I will talk about how accidents and injuries actually generate growth. So that'll be at the very end. So make sure you hang around for the whole video and watch that final last tip so that you can make the most out of your accidents and injuries, because they're gonna happen. It's life. So have you ever had a bad accident, or just a seemingly minor incident or accident that, you got hurt, but it was enough to make you kind of stop and go, what the heck was that? Why did that happen to me? Why would that happen to me? Have you ever had one of those incidents? I know I have. I've had lots of those weird incidents. And I've had a lot of clients over the years who have had a lot of those weird incidents. And they come into me for remedies and healing and repair. And it's generally in those situations where I, as an objective observer, can see, the whole situation outside the box. Because we tend to stay inside this hole and we get so subjective that we can't understand why these are happening. But objectively, I can look at it and go, oh. And I'll make a comment stating, because depending on what body part is injured, how the accident or injury unfolded, there's so many variables. But I can see it objectively and go, have you thought about this belief in your life, or this thought or pattern or old, state that you are stuck in, and this is a way for you to kind of open your eyes and make a change. And generally the people kind of go, oh my God, you're right. So let's dive a little bit further into all the weird different ways that we have accidents and actually what that all possibly means for you. So the weird accident one, the one where it just comes out of nowhere and you think, I was actually in a pretty good place. So I wasn't angry, I wasn't rushed, nobody else was really involved. A lot of times situations where you hurt yourself are what I've discovered as really karmic events, sort of a way for you to pay back some old issue from a past life or past experience, just a way to kind of set the record straight, if you will. So I'm going to share a little story and maybe you connect with this. So I was in a great mood and I was visiting my neighbor and I was dropping something off and we had a good chat at the door, and then I walked out to my car and I was in a really good, light, happy, joyful place. And I opened my truck door and literally cut myself on my forehead. I had like this big bruise and a cut. And when I got home, my husband was like, "What the hell did you do to yourself?" And I was like, "You're not going to believe this." But I was getting in my truck, which I've done a bazillion times before, in exactly the same way, and I caught my head with the upper corner of the door. Who does that? It was so bizarre, and I could not for the life of me figure it out. But when I took stock a couple days later, I kind of laid out all the scenarios that had been going up to that day and going on in my life and things and thoughts that I'd been having before and things. So I kind of took a bigger stock. I kind of, reached out and around instead of just that moment, and realized that yes, this was just a out of the blue payback. For whatever reason, I needed to just suck it up and move on and deal with that injury and recover. And it was done. Just whatever it was, because I didn't carry any residual emotion or thoughts because of it. It just was a random event that was stirred up from other events, and I needed to have this payback and then let it go. And that was it. So if you have situations like that, think on those and maybe reach a little further out and think, was there a lead up to this? Take some notes and think about that. And so too, traumas are going to happen. Accidents are going to happen. Injuries are going to happen. We are a human organism having a human experience. We have our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own beliefs. We have our own trials and tribulations that we need to go through. And so shit is just gonna happen that at the time you may not be totally aware of. When your check engine light comes on in your car, it doesn't come up just for shits and giggles. It's there for a reason. It's trying to get your attention. Just like the stop sign says, please don't go through here or you'll get hit by possibly another car. Maybe good to pay attention to that. Same with your check engine light when it comes on. Might be important to check on that. That's why we have symptoms and incidents in our life and experiences that come at us for us to reflect, for us to go, right? So just like your, physical symptoms get our attention, so too do your thoughts and your emotions. They all kind of, build upon each other and they cascade within each other. Your thoughts feeding your emotions, feeding your body and bubbling back up again through your emotions and into your thoughts and creating a belief pattern. It's a vicious cycle. But when these things come up and they make you stop and reflect. And that's why I said oftentimes it is a physical outer occurrence or incident that has to get our attention. And if we're not paying attention, inside, and we're going along in a negative energy pattern way, or even just in a way that we think is the right way, but it needs to be adjusted and changed because it's not serving us in a higher, better way, well, the universe is really good at stepping in and slapping you upside the head and saying, hey, you need to wake up. You need to make a change. This is not going to be good for you in the long run. Maybe you should take stock and rethink this and make some changes in your life. And, sometimes we pay attention, sometimes we don't. I always laugh because when I first started going through all my own healing with my practitioner and stuff, and she would reflect every month, on, okay, how did your experience go with the new remedies and what shifted and what did you notice? And I'd be like, I don't know. I think I'm still the same. We're so caught up in just trying to get through life, and especially when we got a lot of stuff piling up, we can't see clearly to go, oh yeah, I do feel a little lighter. I do find that life seems to be moving better for me. Well, initially, I had so much chaos and crap going on that I couldn't see shit past my own face. So during those times, I would be like, yeah, I'm not really getting it. So I actually asked the universe at the time, I said, okay, if you're going to give me a sign, please make it really obvious because I'm just too busy just trying to get through the day. I need you to kind of really get my attention. Well, be careful what you wish for. So I started getting very obvious signs, very obvious symptoms, very obvious accidents, very obvious situations in life that were events were slamming me into the wall saying, hey, are you going to change this? Which I did. Thankfully, I had a great practitioner and she helped walk me through it all. And that's what I do with my clients. So I'm just saying, if you're so caught up in the whirlwind, it might be good to reach out and ask for help because it's really hard to be a self-objective. But remember, nothing happens for no reason. There's always a reason behind everything that is going on in your life. And truthfully, there's a reason for you. And finding that unique reason really makes a big difference in how you can then grow and evolve and speed up your own personal evolution. Truthfully, that's why we're all here. And that's why we have crazy experiences, is to be conscious of what this means for me and how I can make it into something better and greater for me at the end of the day. And last but not least, I was just going to talk about the one comment that I had from a friend of mine, Carol. She had said, I was in a good place and I felt really good. And I was feeling really good about myself when all of a sudden I got slammed with this injury. And she couldn't really understand why. And when I know her well, so I was reflecting on what was going on. And I realized that sometimes unconsciously, even if consciously we're way up here, sometimes unconsciously with our beliefs, we're stuck way down here. And when that happens, even though we think we're getting ourselves up and out of this situation, the universe will slam you back down because you truly on some level believe you don't deserve it. So there's times where we self-sabotage ourselves. And that is probably one of the situations that had happened for her. And it happens for all of us. We do it all the time, totally unconsciously, because there's this old belief over here that says, you're not allowed to go there. And so incidents and accidents and events unfold that make us have to come back down and regroup and recollect. So as long as you don't let it keep you down here and you go, okay, there's a reason. I'm going to reflect on it. I'm going to make some better changes and I'm going to make those little incremental steps to get back up here. When you do that, you take back your power from the universe and you take back your own personal growth and evolution and you say, I can do this. And you strengthen yourself. Just like, when you start a workout routine, which I've done recently, and you're hurting and you're aching and you're in pain the first few weeks, which I'll talk about in my next video. But you need to go through that. You need to have that physical pain and ache and trauma so that you can recover and strengthen and grow physically. like an exercise program. Well, so too do you need that in a mental emotional level. You need to have stumbling blocks. You need to fall off and feel shitty and miserable so that you can feel happy again, so you can find your way up. It's a muscle. Even if it's not a physical muscle, it is still a muscle in your thoughts and your emotions that you develop. You don't have that always ability. Just like when you first learn to walk, you're going to fall down a lot, but once you do it enough times, you figure out, okay, I've fallen down, here's how I get back up. You do that with your thoughts and your beliefs and your emotions as well. So we have these experiences on every level, physical, mental, and emotional, so that we can improve our own soul, spiritual journey and evolution in this lifetime. And so I want to know this week, maybe you've gotten some insight from this video. If you have, or if it stirred something up and you have some comments, please share them below. I like to hear. And if you have a weird accident or injury or experience that you had recently that you just can't figure out why, then make a comment below or reach out personally. If it really is very private and you just want my personal take on it, then reach out to me privately and I'm happy to answer you. So thank you so much for joining me this week. Hope you brought some interesting insights to more reasons why you might be having some weird accidents and injuries. And like I said, let me know. Remember, ring the bell and stay tuned, because next week I'm going to talk about working out and the aches and pains and feeling shitty and why that actually happens on a bigger level and how to avoid it and get through it faster. If you're wanting to do a workout routine. If not, then skip that one. But stick around anyway. So thank you so much for being here this week, and I appreciate you on every level. And so for the rest of this week, remember, be authentic, be empowered, and own it completely. Bye.